Picture this. The sun is just starting to rise over a massive ancient complex. Thousands of students, literally some of the most brilliant minds on the planet, are pouring through these enormous gates. Monks are carefully carrying incredibly delicate manuscripts. What you're looking at isn't just a school. It's one of the greatest, most vibrant centers of learning the ancient world ever saw. A place that acted like a global magnet for genius, only to suddenly and mysteriously vanish. Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to uncover the ancient secrets, the legendary libraries, and the mysterious, tragic destruction of a truly legendary place, Nalanda.
All right, let's dive right into this. When we think of the world's most historic, prestigious universities, our minds almost automatically go straight to the West, right? We think of Oxford, we think of Cambridge, but way, way before those institutions ever even opened their doors, there was this other absolute pinnacle of intellectual life. It wasn't Oxford, it wasn't Cambridge, it was Nalanda, a university so incredibly famous, so completely unparalleled in its time, that scholars literally walked thousands of kilometers just for a chance to study there.
But that brings us to the core mystery of our explainer today. If this place was so massive, so incredibly influential, and packed with all this irreplaceable knowledge, where did it go? What exactly happened to Nalanda? And honestly, perhaps even more importantly, what was hidden inside its towering, legendary libraries right before they were lost to history?
Section 1. A City of Knowledge.
So, starting way back in the Gupta period in present-day Bihar, Nalanda wasn't just your standard building with a few dusty lecture halls. You kind of have to strip away your modern idea of what a university looks like. This was a vast residential community. It was a sprawling, fully immersive ecosystem of learning. Students and teachers actually lived together right there within the complex. They studied side by side. They debated these wildly complex ideas every single day. It was this living, breathing city dedicated entirely to the pursuit of knowledge, and it flourished for centuries as the absolute beating heart of Buddhist learning.
Section 2. The Journey to Nalanda.
And because of that incredible ecosystem, Nalanda's reputation just couldn't be contained. It radiated outward, basically calling to anyone anywhere who had a deep, burning thirst for understanding. We're talking about scholars making the incredibly grueling trek from China just to study Buddhist philosophy and logic. You had students coming all the way down from Tibet for advanced grammar and medicine. Brilliant minds from Korea and Central Asia traveling vast distances to master mathematics and astronomy. They were crossing mountains, deserts, you name it, all converging on this one specific dot on the map.
And among those ultra-dedicated travelers were some pretty famous visitors, like the Chinese Buddhist pilgrims Xuanzang and Yijing. Now, Xuanzang traveled to India in the 7th century and spent years at Nalanda just studying and collecting texts. When he finally made it back to China, he brought with him manuscripts and knowledge that would literally shape Buddhist scholarship for generations. And it's actually through the super meticulous journals of pilgrims like him that historians have some of our best, most valuable clues about what life was actually like inside Nalanda.
But here's the thing. You couldn't just show up and claim a bed. Getting into Nalanda was ridiculously difficult. Historical accounts describe this intensely rigorous gatekeeping process. Step 1. You arrive at the gates. Step 2. You are immediately hit with intense questioning and intellectual challenges by the teachers right there at the entrance. Step 3. You actually had to demonstrate a considerable amount of prior knowledge just to get your foot in the door for advanced study. Only the most prepared, razor-sharp minds were accepted. Seriously, just getting in was a massive flex in the ancient world.
Section 3. The Legendary Libraries. Now, I want you to imagine walking through this complex. You hear scholars passionately debating, monks deep in study, teachers explaining the movements of the stars. And we aren't just talking about basic textbooks here. These shelves held advanced mathematical secrets, incredibly complex astronomical charts, and pioneering medical procedures. Ancient accounts describe this mind-bogglingly vast collection of manuscripts. They covered everything: Buddhist philosophy, logic, grammar, medicine, math, astronomy, religion. Now, the exact size of the collection is impossible to know for sure today, but it represented literal generations of accumulated human knowledge, countless lifetimes of work, and a lot of it existed only in those few copies, just sitting right there on those very shelves.
And then came the tragedy. Section 4. The Fall of Nalanda.
To really grasp how a place of this magnitude could just disappear, we have to zoom out and look at the timeline. From its origins in the Gupta period to its absolute peak of global influence around the 7th century, the place seemed totally unstoppable. But as we move into the late 12th century, the political landscape of northern India changed, and it changed drastically. A massive wave of severe political upheaval and invasion swept through the region.
Nalanda, along with several other major Buddhist institutions, was caught directly in the crossfire, and it led to a rapid, incredibly violent collapse.
Historical accounts consistently connect this mysterious, tragic destruction of Nalanda with the forces of Bakhtiar Khalji, right around the late 12th or early 13th century. Later traditions describe these absolutely devastating attacks on the university, specifically detailing the destruction of those great, irreplaceable libraries we just talked about. As these institutions were attacked and began to decline, Nalanda was violently and permanently forced right out of the center of intellectual life.
Now, separating popular legend from historical reality is absolutely crucial here. For instance, there is this very popular myth that Nalanda's library was so massively huge that it burned continuously for several months. But the fact is, the exact duration of that fire just isn't firmly established by any reliable historical evidence. But listen, whether it burned for a day or a week or a month, the ultimate outcome was exactly the same. The real tragedy wasn't just losing the physical buildings, it was the total devastating collapse of an entire ecosystem of learning. Manuscripts that literally took years to painstakingly write by hand were just lost forever.
Section 5. The Return of Nalanda.
So, for centuries, this university that had once attracted the brightest minds in all of Asia lay completely forgotten, just quietly buried beneath the earth. But eventually, modern archaeologists began to dig, and slowly, this lost university started to reveal its secrets once again. They uncovered some truly incredible, tangible remnants. We're talking vast brick monasteries, ancient temples, intricate sculptures, coins, and just countless archaeological clues that prove this legendary city of knowledge was 100% real. It stands today as a physical reminder of a time when complex ideas traveled across borders, way before our modern hyper-connected world ever even existed.
Section 6. The Legacy of Nalanda.
So, why does this ancient university actually matter to you and me today? Well, because it serves as this incredibly powerful lesson in the fragility of our own achievements. Think about it. Civilizations rise. We build these great, towering institutions. Whole generations work tirelessly to create and preserve ideas. But when those institutions fall, that knowledge can so easily disappear right along with them. As the saying goes, Nalanda reminds us that the greatest treasure of any civilization isn't gold, it is knowledge. I mean, all the gold in the ancient world couldn't buy back the unique thoughts, the medical discoveries, or the astronomical observations that burned inside those libraries. It really represents this irreplaceable loss of human thought. Over 1,000 years ago, intensely dedicated students walked those exact grounds, searching for answers. And yeah, today, only the ruins remain. But you know what? Perhaps that is the ultimate triumph of Nalanda. Sure, the brick buildings fell, the precious palm leaf manuscripts were completely lost, but the fundamental idea at the very core of the university, that survived the centuries. It's that beautiful belief that knowledge belongs to everyone, everywhere, who is willing to put in the work to seek it out.
The story of Nalanda is just one single chapter in human history, and honestly, it really makes you wonder, what other stories, what other immense, hidden libraries of lost knowledge are still sitting out there, just waiting to be completely remembered beneath the ruins of our ancient world? Thank you so much